I wish good things to you who is watching this. I am Alexey, and whilst the Carcassonne Champions League is on a bit of a halt before the decisive events of the finals and the bronze medal match, during this break of few days, I could not possibly leave you without some live Carcassonne content, so I figured I'd do something different today. I wanted to showcase you the competitive Carcassonne scene of the modern day and age in all its variety. And for today, I've picked the Ukrainian National Online Championship. One of the reasons is because at the moment Ukraine is one of the most developed countries when it comes to their Carcassonne scene. So the way this works, it's very similar to a football championship. So as you can see from their websites, their online championships last around 12 weeks or something like this, possibly a little bit more. Every week there's a match. Now we're currently in week 7 out of the 11 weeks of the preliminary rounds, and we have 4 divisions. So there's so many competitive players that they can't even fit them all in one league. It's very similar to how English football works, for example. So there's the Premier League, there's the First League, Second League, and so on. So Superliga, that is the place where all the masters are playing. This is not the one that is happening today, but instead we're going to go for the Vyššia Liga or the Major League, which is kind of like the second division, so where experts are playing and players who are maybe even not quite expert level. So the leagues are divided by rating, and then it takes a bit of a twist. So similar to football championships, as you can see from these symbols over here, the best players, or the players who score the highest in the overall league, advance to a higher division next year, and the lower scoring players are relegated. And this is something that is happening for years, very, very similar to how a football championship would happen. And today we will be witnessing a match between 2 players who have not yet achieved expert status, with the screen names Karmeljuk and Love My Home. And they will be fighting for 2 things. Well, first of all, they'll be fighting to avoid relegation, because a loss in this round could hurt either of these players. And they're also fighting for promotion because, well, maybe a bit less so Love My Home with Karmeljuk with 2 wins in 6 matches. If they get a 3rd victory right now, then they're suddenly tied for 5th. So like this middle of the pack of this tournament situation is really, really tight. And we're going to see if the games have started, and yes, they have. So both players very evenly rated. Karmeljuk with over 2,000 games of experience and rated 429. Love My Home with only 120 games of experience, rated 440. So they're already outrating their opponent, and it's quite an achievement to achieve a rating that high in just over a couple of 100 games. Typically it takes hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. It is possible that they might have experience on other platforms, but it's not something that I am aware of. So Karmeljuk with red meeples, Love My Home with green. Red with the first monastery here for 4 points. Very nice cover up. A slight imprecision though, so red is starting a new road. It was slightly better for red to go over here like this, so that red would be able to get himself a 4-point loop road. And also, with this piece of roads taken into the monastery, it's going to hurt the monastery tiny bits. There are some sequences which block the square, but mainly it doesn't allow for a lot of variety in the sense of the tile that go over here. So when you place the tile here, then essentially you're planning to build the monastery with a straight line. Maybe that's what red wants, but ideally in the opening you want to build your monasteries with other monasteries. You want to be looking for monastery clusters, like you want to be looking to put the game away straight away. There's still 2 road monasteries that fit into this square, but ideally as red, of course, we want to be able to fit field monasteries over here. So a bit of a subtle detail overlooked here by Karmeljuk, but they're still doing just fine. They're losing 8 points on the scoreboard because green just finished the city and started a new one. But they have a 3-point road, they have a 5-point monastery train, so on and so on. Red just found a nice blocking move, actually. This is quite an annoying move to deal with, so they added a point into what's going to become a shared city, but they made it slightly harder for green to continue his road. Also, Kate's in point, as green's now not able to play the straight line over here, and instead, I'm not even sure what they're going to do yet. So they choose to cover up their city a little bit. There's still like 7 different city caps that fit into this square now, but in addition to being a cover-up, it's also a restriction, really, and it creates the opportunity for red to create a blocking platform, and this is exactly what he does. He was threatening to block the green meeple permanently, but green gets one of the 7 city caps that fit into that square immediately. And now they are finishing the city and starting a new one. Oh, this one does appear to be a clear mistake to me. So typically in a position like this, when the city cap is restricting this much, it's better to leave the city cap empty and meeple the field instead. There's a big difference actually between master levels and maybe expert players or and low-rated players when it comes to field strategy. Master players these days tend to meeple fields quite early. Even Japanese players who have been known for meepling the fields rather late, even they sort of shifted their strategy, taking 6-point farmers, 3-point farmers. Now finally we do see the field being taken. And look at this, Love My Home even sacrificed the city cap essentially. But red chose not to take the city cap. Instead, they're going for this blocking move over here. It's a good move. Not sure about the priority here. I would really, really love the cleanup of the city cap from red. Because red's problem now is that they're quite a lot behind on the scoreboard. Whilst green is munching on cities here. Red is sort of building roads here and there, but it will take some time to consolidate. It will take some time to get a meeple back. Nevertheless, an incredibly annoying block, pressuring 2 meeples of green. There are now 2 tiles that fit into that square. Let's see if green manages to get out of that situation at all. And now green with a road end, a tile that red certainly would have loved. We see, by the way, that red finally cleans up the city cap, starts a new city, and of course, red is preparing to get a city cap and drop a farmer, as this field, which was finally taken by green, is really juicy. It has 3 completed cities on it, a 4th one on the way, and a sufficient number of green squares for further development, so this undoubtedly is going to be the main field of the game. And that's what we see, a very strong move from green, trying to block this idea of red finishing the city and dropping a farmer. It does cost green 2 points, but it's a price absolutely worth paying. It cost green 2 points because red was able to score for his road over here and still have a chance to complete his city. Green, however, gets a Dorito tile, which undoubtedly is going to be used over here. Yeah, this move also has to be a clear mistake, clear mistake by green. So the purpose of this move is to, I'm going to assume, restrict the number of tiles that fit into this square to just 1. There is now only a cow that fits into the square, and I guess one thing that green was afraid of was simply red getting a splitter tile and then blocking this square, and then red building up and finishing this city. And so there was still a chance how green could end up with 2 meeples trapped, whereas red would end up with 0 meeples trapped. It was an unlikely event, given that there was only 1 splitter remaining, so maybe a case of a bit of an unnecessary paranoia from a player with the green meeples. But at the very least now he can be safe in the knowledge that the worst case scenario is not going to materialize. Yes, this meeple is blocked as a result of this forcing sequence, And this meeple is blocked, but the red meeple is blocked as well, because now through this square it is tied to the blocked city of green. In the meantime, green chooses a different approach to deal with red city. He's now trying to build roads around it, setting up new invasion squares or blocking squares. Green now gets more city tiles, and now this city gets really, really dangerous, because if, I meant red gets more city tiles. If red gets one more city cap and goes over here, then that's pretty much going to be all she wrote, because red's going to cover up the city. And then this square, although it's a bit restricted, there's still plenty of city caps that are going over here. And you see now, green starts panicking a little bit. I'm going to say unnecessarily. He tries to block the square a little bit, and in addition to this, set up another attacking platform. But he would have been better off just simply meepling a monastery, really anywhere here, for example, controlling the road. Or, I'm not sure, here even, or here. Because the thing is, like, green is ahead on the scoreboard a little bit, and with the monastery, it could have given him more scoring potential. And then, in many scenarios, even where red finishes the city, then green could still be ahead. So green chose the blocking route, which is quite unexpected to me, because this city of red is kind of growing to be significant. I expect that green will need to connect to it at some point. Even if the city is not going to get completed, it's going to score a lot. It's already going to score 8 with a couple more tiles. It's going to score 10, 11, 12, and that's already worth the investment of a meeple. This would be outscoring this 9-point farmer of green at the moment. So let's see if this blocking idea is going to work out. Oh yes, and speaking of blocking, you know, there's still 3 tiles that fit into this square. So if green wants to block, then he will need to follow up. Now, green is really, really spending a lot of effort on blocking, which is really not the thing that you want to be doing when you have the lead. You want to be playing a bit of a more low variance game. Red, in the meantime, is building up his city and also managing to sneak in a quite efficient farmer, equalizing the agricultural professional over here. But this field connection gives a platform for green to connect to the city that red has been so patiently building up. But, there's still one more splitter remaining. So he could split him off. Or he could just go here, here, and here, and try and block this connection. One thing that's very good for red in the tile pool is the fact that so many big tiles have already gone out. In fact, 6 out of the 8 triple or quadruple cities have gone out. We can now see a 7th one, which will be used by green to connect to the cities. So everything here is now neutralized. And as a result of this, it's really green who's benefiting, because red spends so much effort on building this up. And green managed to connect really just using only 2 tiles. But in the meantime, red has managed to catch up on the scoreboard. And this move is just absolutely huge for red. So they're now setting up a straight line to finish their road, and there's still 3 of those remaining. And this will give them a meeple majority and also expand the field, adding 1 extra city to it, a lot of green squares to it, and field expansion always benefits the side that has more meeples, and soon this side is going to be red. But not so fast, green is saying, as he's building up his city as well, looking to get 6 points and get a meeple back. No really productive way of dealing with this. So there's a tactic here that I don't expect players at this level to know. Basically, this move makes all the sense in the world, just equalizing the city. But this sort of move you typically make when you have more meeples in hand. And it's certainly a solid move, but another alternative is to just turn the city cap the other way and leave it open. with the idea that this restriction occurs, and if green gets a city cap himself, then green can maybe go over here, take 4 points, but this in turn will open a blocking platform for reds to just obliterate this meeple and not let him return. But red had calculated that this was not necessary, as there were still plenty Dorito tiles in the deck to complete the connection, so he just simply chose a low variance approach, equalized the cities, and got a meeple back for both himself and his opponent. Love My Home still has a comfortable scoreboard lead, and despite having a meeple blocked, he's the one that has the meeple advantage, or at least had until now, so he chooses now to go on the field, which is an interesting choice, but I'm not sure how much I love this exact placement of the farmer. Well, look at this, in karmeljuk immediately dropping a farmer back. Love My Home is taking 2 points. That's actually a very strong move because it protects this square that he needs for the field invasion. There's still one more vanilla city cap remaining. Or, you know, he can just go here. That also works. Now green has the majority on the field. Of course, red is going to invade the field soon enough, unless a calamity happens. We are actually running short on tiles for this here square. So there is only one straight line remaining, surprisingly. One curve remaining, sorry. And there's still one crossroads. And there's still 2 daggers. So yeah, so I guess that's something. But it is possible for green to go here and here and block the square at some points. Note that this move has actually created an invasion platform against this city. And I wonder if karmeljuk decided he's far enough behind to go for the big gamble and try and invade that city. Now that would be a game decisive feature for sure, because it would score at the very least 16 points, even with some chances of full completion of the city. But even if it gets blocked, then 16 points for a 2 versus 1 meeple majority would be an amazing investment. 50-50 chance seems to be a bit too risky at this point, but now we see quite a major mistake from red. I wonder sort of the purpose of this move. So he just simply did not find a good way to use this tile and chose to discard it, which makes some sense. Well, actually, no, it doesn't. Wait, why am I saying this? Okay, I really need to be more careful with my words. But he had a stronger move available to him, just going over here, building up his monastery, and setting up the completion of the monastery either with a cow tile or an extender tile. But instead he chose to save the square for a city cap. Now he's scored 4 points, and also now needing only 1 tile to complete the monastery. But the problem is he needs the same tile in 2 squares. So he needs the 1 remaining curve over here and the same type of tile over here. And he also needs the dagger of the same orientation. So there are still 2 of these right-handed daggers. But this square also needs a right-handed dagger, and typically you want to need different tiles for different squares. Now, as a result of this move, of course, red can still use this square at the top for the field's connection, but that would be a bit of a less likely occurrence because we only have 1 straight road remaining that fits into the square, and no starting tiles, I believe. Actually, no, 1 starting tile, so maybe that's could work, and karmeljuk does indeed get himself into the field before he gets blocked, gives both sides a meeple back, and it looks like the 2 Ukrainians are involved in a big Brazilian field fight. Already 4 meeples on the field, 15 points, and it looks like this field is likely to be game decisive. Now, in the event of a tie on the field, green should still prevail in this game, because green has 8 more points on the scoreboard. Red has, of course, the extras over here. 8 points for the monastery, but 3 points for the road, for the blocked meeple way early on, is what's going to make the difference. So after this city connection is going to be completed, which I have no idea. Okay, I wanted to say I have no idea why it doesn't. I have an idea why it doesn't, but I don't think it quite worked. So red chose to use this tile for farming rather than taking the city points. And the reason I really like taking the city points here is because green has 7 points over here, and red had only 5 points over here. So this would be a way to equalize 5 with 7. So that will be a way to gain, what? 2 points. No. Yeah. Instead, he chose to gain only 1 point and drop a farmer. But the problem with this farmer is that it's a really, really long way for him to get into the field. I'm not even sure if that's possible. I believe it is, actually, as one vanilla city cap is still remaining for this square. Green chose to equalize with yet another farmer, now looking for a curvy tile to connect. We're running short on those, but they're still in the deck. So it really depends on the last city cap tile. Because if Karmeljuk goes here, I believe that he is going to win this, because suddenly he has equalized the scoreboard and he has the long road. Love My Home gets the lead on the scoreboard and connecting to the field again. It's now 3-3 on the field. The field is completely tied. And now all Karmeljuk needs to do is just not to do anything silly. Score 4 points. That's really all he needs to do. Because he got to realize that he's ahead at this point. He has the longer road, which more than compensates his 2 points deficit on the scoreboard. These cities at the top are equal. Red gets himself the 4 extra points. And look at this. A bit of a comeback win from red as a result of successfully finishing a monastery and then dropping some more farmers. And both players exchange natural move towards the end. Red gets himself 3 points for a city. No. Green gets 3 points for a city. Red gets 4 points for a road. The points are being counted, and we're going to see that red is going to prevail by a couple of points because most of the features are equal. The big field is equal with 3 green meeples and 3 reds, so both players get 21 points. And +9 is the victory of Karmeljuk. Oh yeah, I'm not sure if I mentioned the format is a best of 3, so nothing's over just yet. Love My Home is going to try and make a comeback for show. Let me just update the scoreboard real quick, and then we're gonna catch up with the chat. So, hi Vitali, hi Napamai, hi Glovier, hi Ian, hi Nalaheim. Nalaheim is saying, have you set your mind to be more gentle to Major League players as opposed to players who play in the bigger international tournaments? Well, you're certainly one to be talking. I don't think I have a reputation of being particularly harsh on players, but yes, I, of course, am taking in mind. Obviously, we don't expect like everybody to be extremely precise, and we've had the luxury of watching some of the best players in the world recently. So we still expect a high-level game, and this is actually what we got in the first one. But there will be mistakes, and they're always going to be part of Carcassonne, really at every level. Actually, I think I want to see more outrageous mistakes. That would have been more fun. So, red is starting a new city. Now, wait, the colors have changed. That is a bit harder to follow. But yes, the colors have changed. So now, Love My Home is red, and Karmeljuk is green. And Love My Home was the starting player here, so he will be getting the statistical advantage that should facilitate the comeback, which he absolutely needs. So red started a road, green dropped a farmer early on with the splitter, basically hoping that you take a city cap, I take a city cap, and then I end up with a lot of points. A very interesting decision here. This farmer could actually work. Red is immediately dropping a counter farmer. Also an instructive thing that both players are doing, like whenever one player drops a farmer, the other is always trying to equalize, like very quickly. And this is what you want to do in most cases when the field looks like it's going to be profitable. Now, at the highest level, you can sometimes delay this and be a bit more subtle. So, for example, if your opponents overinvest into a field, then you can play an imbalance. You can actually concede the field and then use the fact that your opponent has meeples trapped on the field to try and score some more points with other features like monasteries or big cities, for example. This does not appear to be one of those games, but speaking of meeple management, a crucial event has happened that is going to make the game for red really, really hard. So Karmeljuk is in an excellent position here, and the reason is this square over here. A successful blocking sequence with this triple row tile will make sure that the red meeple is going to get trapped with 2 points. This is already an advantage pretty much equivalent to, I like to compare it to having an extra hockey player on the ice, so like power play in ice hockey or something like this. It is a greater advantage than having an extra football player. You know, like when somebody gets a red card in football, then the other team gets an advantage of having an extra player for the rest of the game. Having an extra meeple of Carcassonne is an even greater advantage in this. And it takes extreme skill to manage and mitigate that meeple disadvantage. So what red should be trying to do here strategically is just keep the position as close as possible, hope that they draw some monasteries or some scoring tiles, especially now after they got themselves their second meeple blocked. And this is going to hurt quite a bit. And then they also need to avoid the creation of big fields. So it is a bit tougher for a player who maybe is fond of fields, but you really can't afford to create field here because fields always favor the player who has the meeple majority, because it's just so much easier to fight for fields when you have meeples. So, how is red going to come back from this? It is going to be quite hard. So one thing that red is trying to do is to make a counter block. So this move was intending to break the city of green, but green immediately drew a defense tile. So there's still 3 city cap that fit into this square, and a likely outcome is that green will be able to complete the city ultimately. Karmeljuk now with a very lovely move, actually. So you see with these 2 green meeples, he's trying to take over this red city over here. And now he claimed a new city whilst also covering up that square from a block. So now there's still 3 tiles that fit over here. And look at this, just as red got for the first time the scoreboard advantage in the game by finishing this 4-point road, green just played an incredibly strong move. And you know what, I'm not like I did not expect for players at this level to even know this stuff. So the purpose of this move is the indirect defense of the square. Now when green occupied this city was already kind of vulnerable. This meeple was still correct because the upside of completing the city is just too big. Like with one more city cap, he gets 10 points and a meeple back. It's really, really good. But because this platform could have been used by Karmeljuk, no, by Love My Home to try and block this square, Karmeljuk decided to restrict that blocking platform But that's okay, says Love My Home. I'm gonna find another blocking platform, and this move is incredibly annoying to deal with, or this sequence of 2 moves rather. Green is still unable to draw a tile to complete his city, and now this move makes it just so much harder for Green to complete the city, because there are really not that many tiles that fit into this square. There's one Dorito with a road like this, and there are 3 triple city tiles, but the triple city tiles are already needed by Green for this square. Moreover, it is quite easy for Love My Home to find something over here and then block this square completely. It does not quite work. Wait, that's actually quite interesting. I'm not sure why he would do that. So, Green... Wait. Was this green or was this red? No, that was... Well, I'm not sure exactly who that was. So a bit of an interesting sequence here on the left. The only thing that I can say is that the city is quite sensitive. We're going to see in a second or in minutes whether this meeple makes it out alive. But now I start wondering if this even is going to matter. Because very early, a triple city tile is drawn, and Karmeljuk gets away with 14 points, 2 for the road and a whopping 14 for the city. The meeples are equal, but the scoreboard looks very nice for Karmeljuk. And Love My Home gets involved into a field fight. Now, with 4 meeples, it definitely makes sense. He still has 3 meeples to play with for the rest of the game. But if the field grows too big and requires more and more meeples to fight, then at some point red could run out of meeples, in which case it would be a sad state of affairs. Green is trying to build up his city at the top. Red uses the splitter tile to connect to the city and make the field even bigger. So red is just banking on the field despite being the side with the meeple minority. He's saying that, you know, Green's meeple is close to being trapped here, and this meeple here could be trapped in the future, and red is trying to accomplish exactly that. Then maybe, because of these facts, red is not at such a severe meeple disadvantage, and he's trying to create a big field just to combat the road problem, the scoreboard problem rather, that he has. And look at Green starting a new city for a bazillion points, and he's going to get the bazillion points, and he's going to drop yet another farmer. And with that, the advantage of Green is just gigantic. He is not yet connected the farm yet, and, you know, this square gets blocked, so this meeple is going to get trapped. But 22 points on the scoreboard. There's really not a lot of arguments that one can have against the scoreboard. But let's see. So 4 points for Green for city, for red for a city. That's something. And look at this. Maybe he can still get some farming victory here, because this guy is now going to have a tougher time connecting to the main field. There are still, of course, some tiles that fit here. For example, the 2 vanilla city caps, and that was an excellent defensive move from Green here. There are only 2 tiles that fit into the square, but it still translates to a 75% chance of Green drawing one of these 2 tiles at some point. Not only will this field connection be completed, but also extra 4 points will be added to Green's scoreboard. So if I'm red here, what I'm trying to do, I'm just trying to hope for the 25% chance that I'm going to draw both city caps. And it's a good thing to be hoping for, because one of the city caps can be used over here anyway to continue Red's city. Then maybe he can get one of these bad boys. There are still 2 of those. Or, you know, that one will do, just going over here. That should be a perfectly fine way to expand his city. And still, like, this meeple is still alive. So the plan for Red's victory would be something like this. So we complete the city. We go over here. The field is tied 2-2. Then we draw all the vanilla tiles. And we use this vanilla city cap to maybe drop, maybe to finish our city. And then we drop a farmer here, and then we win the field 3 versus 2. And the field is already big enough to actually compensate for the scoreboard difference. So there are 5 completed cities on the field, or there are going to be 6 completed cities on the field after this. That's 18 points. That's enough to compensate the scoreboard. And then in addition, Red's going to have 10 points over here, 4 points over here, this long road. This, of course, is all wishful thinking, but wishful thinking is an important part of actual planning when you're this far behind on the scoreboard and in the overall game position. Still an 18 points difference on the scoreboard as players exchange completed cities, Karmeljuk with a scoring tile, but instead he chooses to use it for blocking. I'm not sure if it's quite wise. Because, like, what Karmelyuk's got to understand, that he's ahead enough that he should be able to afford Red completing his city. Moreover, if Red completes his city, then Red will be bringing in this green farmer into the field. So it's not even necessarily in Green's interest to always block this square. Sure, Green could always connect over here. But you never know. Like, Red might block this square, Red might block all the tile that fit into this square. Or you know what Red might do? Red might decide to score. For example, going over here. And just simply trying to get 8 points for this road with 2 tiles. That would be quite powerful. That would, of course, bring in the green meeple into the field. But maybe that's not such a bad idea, because our game-winning plan as Red is still to finish the city, which would bring Green's meeple into the field anyway. Yeah, tough choice here. I mean, some other moves are available, maybe going here, claiming the 6-point ruin, but that would not be a great investment of a meeple if you ask me. We could even do something crazy and going over here and trying to connect through the outside of a curve like this to the field, but it appears to me that it just gets blocked way, way too often with the pool of unseen tiles as it is. Yeah, so really that road move is the only valid move that I see. There are just so many road tiles available. I can see at least 2 straight lines. And a bunch of crossroad too, 1 crosser. And then instead he discards the tile like... Oh, okay, he goes for the farmer, you know, that's something. Hey, maybe that's very risky, but at least that's a find, you know? I can respect that. And he does not get blocked. And he gets his field connection. Now, do we meeple the road? That's a great question. He chooses not to meeple the road at his peril, because there are a lot of tiles that fit there. But Green, in the meantime, manages to successfully block Red City. Note that Red still has to draw both vanilla city cap tiles with the purpose of denying Green this field's connection. So as Red, we need to think, like, our only chance to win is drawing both vanilla city cap tiles. But even if we draw both vanillas, then we need for something else for us to happen, something else good. So we need to think how we can use those vanilla city cap tiles to achieve a good thing. And a way that seems productive use of a vanilla to me is just going over here at some point and connecting to the field like this, with a sequence of 2 vanilla city caps from above. Now Red gets the straight line. No, Green gets the straight line. And this is why, as Red, I was advocating placing a meeple there, because we're just giving away way, way too many points. Now it looks that even with the field, it's going to be impossible to win this game. Karmeljuk, although drawing a lot of scoring tiles, the crossroads as well is going to give him 3 extra points if he finds the road on the right. He also might go for the farmer there. Not that he has to. Yeah, it seems to be a bit unnecessary. But actually, no, this move makes a lot of sense. Because he knows that he has 2 tiles to connect here. And then he's setting up a 3rd tile to connect here. This one. And that way he's guaranteed to draw at least one of his one of his field connections. He does get one of the 2 vanilla city caps. And then from Red's perspective, there's really nothing that Red can do, because Red needs to both connect himself on the field, but then also block this invasion, and there's just not enough time to do everything. So Green is going to have the majority on the farm. Oh wait, no, it's just equality on the farm. Huh. I kind of forgot about a red meeple on the right, yeah. So actually, maybe if Red were to get just both vanilla city caps and maybe used one vanilla city cap to block this guy, and then another vanilla city cap for scoring, he would have like 18 more points. But even that would not have been enough. So let's see. Love My Home is saying that it was one of the most difficult games, most complicated games rather, during the whole game practice. He thanks his opponent for the game. And there's one word which I don't... What if Vzagali? Не буду Vzagali в цей Carcassonne. He's saying something... They're just being facetious that like he's not gonna play Carcassonne something something. This is the one word which I don't understand. I hate admitting that there's a word in any language that I don't understand. Well, anyway, maybe our Ukrainian viewers can help with the translation here. Anyway, so this concludes our match as Karmeljuk gets himself a 2nd win with a big point difference, but not without a fight for sure. So lots of farmers in both games, players really prioritizing fields and really having a really good eye about field tactics. So this move over here, of course, massively risky, but before placing a move like this, Red must have realized that there was still a sizable number of tiles that, first of all, allowed this connection to happen in the first place, and second, there was a sizable number of tiles that Green could have drawn, such as the straight line, such as the vanilla city caps, that would not have allowed Green an easy block. Because when you place a farmer like this, of course, the threat is that your opponent is going to get a curve and they're going to go over here. And they're going to unbox your farmer for 0 points like this inside of a 4-point loop. But when you drop risky farmers like this, of course, you always got to double check, are there many tiles with which your opponent is not able to block you? And if that's the case, then this connection becomes less risky. So that is the Ukrainian Major League for you. Now Karmeljuk, as a result of this standing, actually joins this big cohort of players with 3 victories, and they are away from the elimination zone, at least for now, so they could be even fighting for promotion to the Super League at some point if a few more matches go their way. So there are 4 more rounds remaining, and anything could happen. For Love My Home, it's going to be a bit more difficult to avoid relegation, and actually the same is true for Grizzly 1981 here. because now that Karmeljuk is on 3 victories, both these players have 2-game deficit to overcome, or 2-match deficit to overcome, compared to all the other players. Whereas, of course, the middle of the pack, that's where things are the tightest. And finally, before we wrap up, just wanted to explain a bit more about the league format, because you can see these arrows over here, which means promotion, and arrows over here, that would be relegation to the so-called first league. So that would be the 3rd division of the Ukrainian Carcassonne scene, and then there's also the 2nd league, which would be the 4th division for newer players. And then there's these kind of recycling symbols, and what that means is that whoever occupies the 3rd place, they are going to play with whoever finishes 10th in the Super League in a match for the right to play in the Super League. So, for example, if anything finishes how it is right now, then fan Alexey is going to play against... They're going to play against, so whoever stands right now, against Nazario 7-7. And then whoever wins, they're going to be in the Super League next year. So Nazario will be fighting to avoid relegation against fan Alexey, who would be fighting to get a promotion. And the same is true here. So it's always the 10th place of the nth division is going to be fighting the 3rd place of the n+1st division for a place in the nth division of the next year. I can't believe I actually got that sentence right. Hopefully y'all understood what it meant. Okay, that makes sense. Zagali means at all. Thank you for translating, Volodymyr and Yaroslav. Oh yeah, so basically, so what are we saying? So after the loss, Love My Home was saying that they're not going to play Carcassonne at all anymore after these losses. Of course, following by a lot of parentheses, meaning that this is facetious. Also, surprisingly recently, I found out that this here, is apparently a thing that only Slavic language speaking people understand. So I'm not sure if I think, yeah, people in the Western world not necessarily know this, but basically it's common to use parentheses as emoticons. So it's like you don't have the, whatever you're going to call it, the colon, just the parentheses. And I was at a very ripe age when I found out that apparently British people or Americans don't understand what this means. But no, yeah, that's just the Slavic version of a smiley face. Well, anyway, back to Carcassonne stuff. So we will be covering the Ukrainian league matches from time to time. Hopefully we'll get a glimpse at all 4 divisions. But for now, there is going to be a bit of a break from live streams, because not so much is happening. All the decisive events here for the Carcassonne Champions League are expected to be in the second half of next week. But there is one exciting event that I wanted to share. Saturday, 13:30 UTC, Team Latvia is playing their first match against China. You can even see all the lineups over here. It's going to be a 7 versus 7 showdown with some interesting pairings, such as Napalm versus Dr. Taihan. And Only Denver versus Metalcat, and I will be covering that live on Saturday, so make sure to join me there. In case you're here for the first time, just in general, make sure to subscribe for more competitive content like this. There's more where this came from. And also meeple the like button for the algorithm. It helps more than y'all might think. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'ma see you soon.